القرآن يهدي للتي هي أقوم ويبشر المؤمنين الذين يعملون الصالحات أن لهم أجرا كبيرا.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Sura Al-A'raf, verse 179. وَلَقَدْ ذَرَأْنَا لِجَهَنَّمَ كَثِيرًا مِنَ الْجِنِّ وَالْإِنسِ. ذَرَأَ means خَلَقَ. We created for Jahannam, for the hell, many of the jinn and the mankind. It's a bit strange. The purpose of creation was to create some people for hell and to send them there to be punished. Allama Tabatabai says this is not the primary purpose. This is a secondary one. Imagine a carpenter who wants to make a bookshelf, a window or a door. He uses the wood, and most of the wood is used as a part of that door or window. But there are some small amounts of wood which is wasted when you cut, when you measure and cut and connect them. So surely some small parts will be wasted. And this in fact applies to those who go to hell. The purpose of creation, the main purpose of creation was not that. But it happens when you create a world and give them free will, and they can decide to choose between good and bad, because this is the way they reach perfection. And it's a must. So now some will choose the wrong way out of their own free will. And no one is to be blamed except themselves, because they had the free choice. They had the ability and capacity to choose the right one. لَهُمْ قُلُوبٌ لَا يَفْقَهُونَ بِهَا. They have hearts by which they cannot understand. وَلَهُمْ أَعْيُنٌ لَا يُبْصِرُونَ بِهَا. The eyes by which they cannot see. وَلَهُمْ آذَانٌ لَا يَسْمَعُونَ بِهَا. The ears by which they cannot hear. أُولَٰئِكَ كَالْأَنْعَامِ. They are like livestock. Here God likens these people, the unrighteous people, the misguided people, to an'am, to livestock. Allah says, why didn't God liken them to predators? We have two types of animals. Not like lion and leopards, but like sheep and goat. Allah says, because when you consider the animalistic soul of man, because we have different aspects. So one aspect of man is that animalistic aspect. The primary elements are eating, al-akl was-safat, eating and sexual desire, which is very prominent in livestock. They don't have that, ability to kill other animals. So that is something secondary. That is why they are likened to an'am. بَلْ هُمْ أَضَلْ. They are even more astray. Dhal means astray, misguided. But these people are more astray, because for animals, if we say they are astray, it is a relative concept. Because we see man can reach levels of perfection where animals cannot. So we can say they had not reached that perfection. By saying astray, we mean that in relation to man, when you come in comparison to man, they have not reached that level. But when you consider animals themselves, without comparing them to other creatures, they have arrived at their own perfection. So they are not astray. They are not in a wrong place. But it is man who has the capacity to reach the high level of perfection, but now behaves like an animal. So now they are absolutely astray, not relatively. أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْغَافِلُونَ. They are the heedless. وَلِلَّهِ الْأَسْمَاءُ الْحُسْنَى فَادْعُوهُ بِهَا. Al-Asma means names. Al-Husna means the best. The best names are for God. فَادْعُوهُ بِهَا. So call God with those names. وَذَرُوا الَّذِينَ يُلْحِدُونَ فِي أَسْمَائِهِ. And leave those who deviate in regards with Allah's names. From this ayah we can conclude that people are of two types. One group, they worship Allah, they call Allah, and يُسَمُّونَهُ بِاسْمِهِ. They name God with His names. They are the true worshippers, the true believers. They call God Raziq, Khaliq, Qadir, Alim, all these names, beautiful names that we know about God, which are attributes of Allah. But there is a second group, a second category of people who deviate, yulhidun, in God's names, or who are deviated in regards with God's names. يسمونه باسم غيره أو يسمون غيره باسمه. They do one of these two things or both. They may name Allah with names which belong to others, not Him, with others' names. For example, there are some attributes which denote deficiency. So they apply to us, creatures, not to God the Creator. But they use those names for God. Now, this is to name God with others' names, not with His names. Like those people who believe that God is corporeal. He has a physical body. He does injustice. When it comes to the problem of evil, there are some people who believe in existence of God, but they say God is not fully just. He is not fair, ma'adallah. So these people, they are attributing some attributes to God which are not His. يسمونه باسم غيره أو يسمون غيره باسمه. Or they give God's names to others. This is another deviation. Two deviation. The second one is to give God's names to others, like Dahriya. Those who believe that life, death, and everything which happens, it is done by nature. This is the act of God. They attribute it to nature. Or idol worshippers, they attributed some of divine acts to the idols. They said, okay, God created the universe, but it is now administrated, or each part of the universe is administrated and governed by one deity, represented by an idol. So this is also to give God's names to others. Or some people of the book who gave some attributes of God and names of God to people, to some human. Or even Muslims. A Muslim may theologically acknowledge that God is the source of everything. Life and death is in His hands. Rizq and sustenance is by Him. But in practice, in his life, still the way he acts does not reflect that belief. When he goes to doctor, he knows that healing is by God. Everything is by God. But now he sees this doctor as the one who gives him healing. In practice, this is the way he treats the matter of illness. Or if he fears an enemy, now he acts as if that enemy is the source and the cause of his death and defeat, while everything is caused by God. So the very true believers, they are the only ones who have no case of deviation in Allah's names. Many others have at least a minimum level of that deviation. Lillahi al-asma'ul husna. Lillah is the predicate. Asma is the subject. the normal position of predicate is after the subject, not before the subject. When you mention it before, it shows exclusivity, means that al-asma al-husna only belongs to God, no one else. And al-asma, alif lam, definite article for asma, it also denotes that it's a general word. So all asma, all good names, they belong to Allah. So all good names only belong to Allah. And al-husna is different from al-hasan. Hasan means something which is good. Al-husna means the best. So the best attributes, the best asma. If you think of an attribute which denotes perfection, but at the same time, it also entails some level of imperfection, it cannot be applied to God. We don't call God shuja', afif. See, chastity, bravery, they are also good qualities, but we don't call God by these names. They are qualities of perfection, not imperfection, but they also are associated with concepts of being limited, being material, corporeal, which is an imperfection for God. So we cannot call God with something which is relatively good. No, it must be absolutely good. It must be the best. فَادْعُوهُ بِهَا. Ud'uhu biha can be translated to name God with these names when you want to mention God, or to call God a vocation. And it may mean worshiping God. So worship God with these names. Both, all three possibilities are there, and Allah says all can be true, though the last one is stronger. Because we have other verses in the Quran which shows ud'u is used to mean u'budu, worship. ud'uni astajib lakum inna alladhina yastakbiruna an ibadati. In Surah Ghafir, call me, I shall grant you your request. Those who are arrogant to worship me. It is just after ud'uni. It shows that ud'uni meant worshipping. Or فَادْعُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ, another verse. Mukhlisin means with sincerity. Sincerity is something mostly associated with worshipping. Yulhidun, ilhad means not to keep the moderate path, the middle way, to deviate either to the right or the left. So this is ilhad, to go to extremes. But if you keep the right path, the middle way, then this is not ilhad. Ilhad is to go to one of the two directions. سَيُجْزَوْنَ مَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. Those who are deviated, they shall be punished for what they do. وَمِمَّنْ خَلَقْنَا أُمَّةٌ يَهْدُونَ بِالْحَقِّ وَبِهِ يَعْدِلُونَ. And from the ones we created, people, ummatun, there is a group, a community, who yahduna bil-haq, who guide by the truth. وَبِهِ يَعْدِلُونَ, and do justice by the truth. They are the guides. So they must be guided by Allah. And now they are the guides, and this absolute guidance shows that there is no possibility and there is no room for error and misguidance. So it implies the concept of isma and infallibility. So this ayah either must refer to Anbiya, the prophets, Awsiya, so the Imams after the prophets. So they can be considered one ummah, one community, the community of the prophets, who are ma'asum and infallible. And they guide and they do justice by the truth. Or it may refer to the community of believers, for example, true Muslims, true followers of faith, who include ma'asumin also. So the community of believers includes the person of the Prophet, the person of Imams. So this is also because of their presence in that community, this quality can be attributed to them as a whole, as a community. وَالَّذِينَ كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا, those who deny our signs, سَنَسْتَدْرِجُهُمْ, we shall do istidraj in regards with them. What is istidraj? Istidraj is a progressive, gradual ascension or descension. Step by step. You go either higher or lower. And here the context shows it is toward decline. It is a sort of punishment. مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ, from where they don't realize. So we give them na'amat and mercies. One by one. They enjoy it, but they are indeed in loss. Now they are declining. They are going down, and they don't realize it. The same thing which they enjoy is the source of, it shall be the source of their pain. And it is because of their own sins. God is merciful. God does not misguide people. No, it is because of their own actions. وَأُمْلِي لَهُمْ, I give them time. They commit sins because they deny our verses, our signs. They disbelieve. Now they deserve punishment. But أُمْلِي لَهُمْ, I give them time. Because God said, وَلَكُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ مُسْتَقَرٌ وَمَتَاعٌ إِلَىٰ حِينٍ. When Adam and Eve came down to the earth, God told them that in this place, in this earth, you will have an abode. لَكُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ مُسْتَقَرٌ and مَتَاعٌ إِلَىٰ حِينٍ, up to a time. So do you have time? إِنَّ كَيْدِي مَتِينٌ, my plan is firm. وَأُمْلِي لَهُمْ إِنَّ كَيْدِي مَتِينٌ. أُمْلِي لَهُمْ is singular form. I give them time. But سَنَسْتَدْرِجُهُمْ is plural form. We do istidraj. Allama says, أُمْلِي لَهُمْ talks about the divine decree. This is qada'ullah, what God decreed. It is to give them time. But نَسْتَدْرِجُهُمْ is an act of God which is done through angels. So for that, the plural form can be used. أَوَلَمْ يَتَفَكَّرُوا, didn't they think and reflect? مَا بِصَاحِبِهِمْ مِنْ جَنَّةٍ. Jannah means madness, insanity. There is no madness, there is no insanity with their companion. Who is their companion? The Prophet. They accuse the Prophet of being insane. They said, no, there is nothing wrong with him. No madness. Or Jannah may refer to be possessed by jinn. This is also another possibility. They said, if he talks and if he speaks about wahy, it is not his own word, he is possessed by a jinn. He says, no, there is nothing of that type with him. In huwa illa nadhirun mubin. He's nothing, but a manifest warner. أَوَلَمْ يَنْظُرُوا فِي مَلَكُوتِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Didn't they look into Malakut? Malakut is the inner reality, inner side of a reality. Didn't they look into Batin, the inner reality of the earth and the heavens and the earth? It means if they really and deeply reflect on realities, they would realize that the Prophet and his message is true. They would realize that they must follow the Prophet. But they did not reflect, they did not think. وَمَا خَلَقَ اللَّهُ مِنْ شَيْءٍ. Ma khalaq is connected to samawat. Malakut of the heavens and of the earth and of what is created by God. Whatever is created by God. Ma khalaq Allah. Anything which is created by God. Min shay shows it is so general. Everything is included. Didn't they look into malakut and batin of everything that God has created? وَأَنْ عَصَى أَنْ يَكُونَ قَدْ اقْتَرَبَ أَجَلُهُمْ. أَنْ عَصَى is connected to فِي مَلَكُوت. أَوَلَمْ يَنْظُرُوا أَنْ عَصَى أَنْ يَكُونَ قَدْ. Didn't they also look and think that maybe their time has come near? اقْتَرَبَ means to come near. Probably their time, their term, their death, it can be near. So if one thinks about his death, which is something that definitely takes place and we don't know its time, but it is every moment coming nearer to us, if we think about this reality that we are going to die, the veils of ghafla and heedlessness will be removed. Their problem is their ghafla. Now Quran says, why? They don't think about this matter. فَبِأَيِّ حَدِيثٍ بَعْدَهُ يُؤْمِنُونَ. In what statement after it? It means after Quran. After Quran, in what word, in what statement will they believe? They don't believe in Quran. There is no hope to believe in anything else. مَنْ يُضْلِلِ اللَّهُ فَلَا هَادِيَ لَهُ. Whoever God misguides, the person who is misled by God. And it is explained before. What does it mean that God misguides someone? فَلَا هَادِيَ لَهُ. There is no guide for him. وَيَذَرُهُمْ فِي طُغْيَانِهِمْ يَعْمَهُونَ. God leaves them يَعْمَهُونَ. يَعْمَهُونَ means to wander blindly. Leaves them wandering blindly in their طغيان, in their rebellion, in their disobedience. يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ السَّاعَةِ. They ask you about الساعة, the hour. Which hour? It means the hour and the time of resurrection, return to God, the day of judgment. أَيَّانَ مُرْسَاهَا. أَيَّانَ means when. When is its occurrence? When does it take place? Mursa is masdar mimi here. It is it is from arsa, which means thabata, waqa'a, something which takes place, which occurs, which is established. So when is the time of its occurrence, the day of judgment? قُلْ إِنَّمَا عِلْمُهُ عِنْدَ رَبِّي. Say, its knowledge is only with my Lord. لَا يُجَلِّهَا لِوَقْتِهَا إِلَّا هُ. Does not disclose it, make it manifest, except Him, except God. لِوَقْتِهَا, for its time. It is impossible for us to get that knowledge. It's not just simply we don't know it. No, it is impossible to get that knowledge. Allama Tabatawi, when he interprets this ayah, he says that we people are so much used to sensory data, to material realities, that we have no idea of immaterial things and the different nature of those immaterial realities. When you know something, to get knowledge over something, the knower must encompass the object of knowledge. So if that object of knowledge is something which cannot be encompassed by the knower, then it is impossible. Now you want to know about the Day of Judgment. What is the Day of Judgment? It is the destruction and obliteration of existence, of this existence, our existence in this form. So everything will change by the Day of Judgment. So this system, the system that we are used to, it will be replaced by a new one. It will not exist anymore. So the Day of Judgment and resurrection means the end of and the termination of this system. So and now we are a part of this system. So we cannot gain knowledge because we cannot encompass something which contains the non-existence of the knower. It is not possible. ثَقُلَتْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. ثَقُلَ means it is heavy. It is heavy in the heavens and the earth, because they don't have the capacity of that level, of that state to encompass it. No, it is not. It is heavy for them. لا تأتيكم إلا بغتة. It doesn't come to you except suddenly. Just suddenly it comes to you. يسألونك كأنك حفي عنها. They ask you as if you know it. They think that you know, but you don't tell them. So they ask you as if you are familiar with it. Hafi, literally in Arabic, it means someone who insists on a question a lot. So if you insist on asking something, finally you get that knowledge. So now hafi is used for the concept of knowing something. They ask you as if you know it. But it shows they had repeatedly asked this question from the Prophet. قُلْ إِنَّمَا عِلْمُهَا عِنْدَ اللَّهِ. Say, only its knowledge is with my Lord, is with God. This is to repeat the same concept in the beginning of the verse. It is because when the Prophet answered them, they were not convinced. They thought the Prophet, out of politeness before God, he says that it is only God who knows it. Even if he knows, he said, okay, my knowledge is nothing before God. So he attributes it to God. They didn't realize that when the Prophet says, it is only by God, he meant that it is something which is beyond these capacities. وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Most of people don't know because they are so much used to the material world and the material realities. قُلْ لَا أَمْلِكُ لِنَفْسِي نَفْعًا وَلَا ضَرًّا. Say, I have no control for myself, لنفسي, over naf and dar, benefit and harm, any benefit and harm. This ayah is connected to the previous one. In the previous verse, they asked the Prophet with this impression that the Prophet has knowledge of everything. And this being unlimited in knowledge was something that they thought about the Prophet. The Prophet says, no, only God is unlimited. Everyone is limited. I am limited. I'm a man created by God. So I have nothing of myself. إِلَّا مَا شَاءَ اللَّهُ, except what God wills. وَلَوْ كُنْتُ أَعْلَمُ الْغَيْبَ لَاسْتَكْثَرْتُ مِنَ الْخَيْرِ. If I had access to, if I knew the unseen, if I had that unlimited knowledge, you see, the Prophet, if he knows something of the unseen world, it is by God who shows him something. But the Prophet himself does not have knowledge of ilm al-ghayb, the world of the unseen world. And now, a very simple argument, easy to understand for the addressee of the Quran, those who had that question and that illusion. Now, this is something befitting them. It says, if I had known the unseen, لَاسْتَكْثَرْتُ مِنَ الْخَيْرِ وَمَا مَسَّنِيَ السُّوءُ. All I could have had abundance of good things and no harm would have touched me. But you see, I also, when I have this life in this world, I'm also subject to problems. Some unpleasant events happen for me. I also get sick. So it shows that I'm also limited. إِنْ أَنَا إِلَّا نَذِيرٌ وَبَشِيرٌ. I'm just a warner. I'm just the giver of good news. لَقَوْمٍ يُؤْمِنُونَ, for those who believe. هو الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة. He is the one who created you from a single soul. وجعل منها زوجها. And he created its mate from its type, from its kind. So both your parents are man. They are human. Here it does not refer to Adam alayhi salam and Eve, as Allah Tabatabay says. Or at least this interpretation looks likelier for the ayah, because when we continue reading this ayah, in the next ayah we see that these two, man and woman, they did shirk and ascribed partners to Allah. And we know that Adam and Eve, they did not do shirk. Even those people who do not believe in infallibility of the prophets, they also do not ascribe to Adam alayhi salam shirk. So he was muwahid, he was a monotheist. So here nafsan wahida means the father of every person, and zawja is the mother of that person. So he's talking about any human. لِيَسْكُنَ إِلَيْهَا. God created the wife from the kind of the husband so that he may comfort with her. فَلَمَا تَغَشَّاهَا. When he covered her. It is an allusive expression of having sexual relations. حَمَلَتْ حَمْلًا خَفِيفًا. She bore a light burden. The early periods of pregnancy. فَمَرَّتْ بِهِ. She passed with it. So she moved here and there with that light burden. فَلَمَّا أَثْقَلَتْ, when it becomes heavy, now the pregnancy develops. دعوا الله ربهما, they call God, لَأَنْ آتَيْتَنَا صَالِحًا, if you give us a healthy child. Salih here does not mean a righteous one. It's not about his morality and his guidance to the right path. No, it is about his health. لَنَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الشَّاكِرِينَ, we surely will be from the grateful. فَلَمَّا آتَاهُمَا صَالِحًا, when God gave them a good child, a healthy child, جَعَلَ لَهُ شُرَكَاءَ, like many other stories in the Quran. People, when they are in the situation of need, urgent need, they call God, they promise God that we shall worship you, but when they are released from that pain, they forget and they practice shirk. جَعَلَ لَهُ شُرَكَاءَ, they ascribe partners to Allah. فِيمَا آتَاهُمَا, in what He gave them, in the child that He gave them. They were ungrateful to God in the same mercy that God gave to them after their love of the child developed, and now that they have this comfortable and pleasant life, now they do shirk. فَتَعَالَى اللَّهُ عَمَّا يُشْرِكُونَ أَيُشْرِكُونَ مَا لَا يَخْلُقُ شَيْئًا, do they consider Allah's sharik and partner something that لا يخلق شيئا, something that cannot create anything, وَهُمْ يُخْلَقُونَ, something which itself is created. وَلَا يَسْتَطِيعُونَ لَهُمْ نَصْرًا, and they cannot give any help. وَلَا أَنفُسَهُمْ يَنصُرُونَ, even they cannot help themselves. It talks about the idols. وَإِن تَدْعُوهُمْ إِلَى الْهُدَى لَا يَتَّبِعُكُمْ, even if you call those idols to guidance, they don't follow you because they don't understand anything. سَوَاءٌ عَلَيْكُمْ أَدْعَوْتُمُوهُمْ أَمْ أَنْتُمْ صَامِتُونَ, it makes no difference whether you call them or you keep silent. While a Lord, a God, must have at least ilm and qudra, knowledge and power, and it shows that they have nothing. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ تَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ عِبَادٌ أَمْثَالُكُمْ, those whom you call other than Allah, they are creatures, they are ibad, like you. فَادْعُوهُمْ فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لَكُمْ إِن كُنْتُمْ صَادِقِينَ, so call them, they should respond to you if you are truthful. But they don't respond. They don't have knowledge, they don't have power. أَلَهُمْ أَرْجُلٌ يَمْشُونَ بِهَا, do they have feet with which they can walk? أَمْ لَهُمْ أَيْدًا يَبْطِشُونَ بِهَا, or hands with which they can strike? أَمْ لَهُمْ أَعْيُنٌ يُبْصِرُونَ بِهَا, or eyes with which they can see? أَمْ لَهُمْ آذَانٌ يَسْمَعُونَ بِهَا, or ears with which they can hear? قُلِ ادْعُوا شُرَكَاءَكُمْ, call your shuraka, your partners. I mean, it means the partners you ascribe to Allah. ثُمَّ كِيدُونَ, then conspire against me, plot against me. فَلَا تُنظِرُونَ, don't give me respite, don't give me time. But you cannot do anything. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.